The silence before the storm. The galaxy was burning again for years. The alien coalition had fought among themselves for control, believing that humanity was long gone, erased from existence after the fall of Earth. The stars had become battlegrounds and peace was a forgotten word. But in the middle of this endless war, something strange appeared on the edge of the Orion sector. A signal, faint but clear, pulsing in a rhythm that only one species in history had ever used. It was human. At first, the alien admirals laughed, calling it a ghost echo, a trick of old frequencies. The coalition command dismissed it, saying no humans had survived the Great Cleansing. But the laughter faded when sensors confirmed movement. A single warcruiser breaking through the dust clouds. It moved slow, deliberate, and silent, with no identification codes, no communication, and no escort. Its name appeared for just 1 second on the scanners before it vanished again. SS Nemesis inside that dark ship, the crew of 20 humans prepared in silence. They had been hidden for decades, moving through dead systems, repairing old machines, waiting for this day. Their captain, Mira Daxon, stood before the central console, her eyes locked on the holographic display of the galaxy. She was young, but her face carried the weight of centuries of pain passed down through generations. Her voice was calm, steady as she said, "They think we are ghosts. Let's remind them what ghosts can do." Around her, the crew began activating systems that hadn't been touched in years. The hum of ancient Terran engines filled the air, low and deep like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. AI systems flickered to life, and one soft voice spoke through the ship. "Unit Aegis online, Captain. Energy level stable. All weapon systems awaiting command." The voice was human, but digital, a relic of old Earth's last defense programs. Mira nodded. "Good morning, Aegis. It's time far away." The alien coalition's command fleet gathered. Admiral Zortal of the Vern Dominion leaned over his tactical table, staring at the human ship's image. One vessel? They dare challenge the might of the coalition with a single relic? He hissed, his 4 eyes narrowing. His second officer laughed. "Maybe it's an unmanned wreck, Captain, or a myth come to die." But deep inside, they all felt something they hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. The Nemesis moved into the battle zone, where thousands of alien warships floated like metal clouds. Each race of the coalition sent their proudest ships, their newest weapons, their loudest threats. The humans sent only silence, Aegis reported quietly. "We are outnumbered 10,000 to 1, Captain. Recommendation, surrender probability 0. Mira smiled faintly. "Good, I like those odds." As the enemy fleets aligned their cannons, Mira turned to her crew. "Every one of you knows why we're here," she said softly. "They burned Earth, they erased our history. They made us monsters in their stories, but today, we write the ending ourselves." Her first officer, a man named Jonas Reed, looked at her with quiet respect. "Ma'am, are we really ready to use the heart?" Mira's eyes darkened. It's what it was made for. The heart was the hidden weapon buried deep inside the Nemesis, a core so powerful it could warp space itself. It was humanity's final invention before their fall, a weapon built not for conquest, but for survival. But to use it meant risking everything, even their own existence. Outside, the alien commanders gave the order to fire. Thousands of plasma bolts streaked across space, tearing through the darkness toward the small human ship. The first wave hit the shields, flashing blue light across the hull. Inside, the ship shook violently, but Mira stood firm. Gripping the railing, Jonas shouted, "Shields at 40%, Captain!" She replied calmly, "Hold position." Aegis spoke again. "Enemy fleets preparing second volley." "Let them," Mira whispered, her tone almost like a prayer. The crew stared at her in disbelief, wondering why she wasn't returning fire. Then, in the stillness of the bridge, she said 2 words, quiet but powerful. "Arm the heart." Instantly, every light in the ship turned red. Energy rippled through the hull, forming glowing lines like ancient veins of fire. The crew felt it, the deep living pulse of something beyond technology. The Nemesis awakened, its systems older than the stars, its power drawn from forgotten Terran science that no alien could ever understand. Aegis whispered, "Core awakening. Energy signature off the charts, Captain. This will not be reversible." "I know," she replied, her voice steady. "That's why we only get one chance." Outside, the alien fleet paused, confused by the strange glow surrounding the human vessel. Their scanners could not identify the energy, and even their strongest sensors failed. Then, without warning, the stars around the Nemesis began to bend as if space itself feared what was coming. A shockwave rippled through every ship in the area, disabling several instantly, and for the first time, Admiral Zortal shouted in panic, "What is that thing?" Inside the Nemesis, Mira closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of Earth, the blue skies she had never seen, the oceans her ancestors described, the laughter of a world now dust. She opened her eyes again, filled with fire. "Let them see," she said. "Let them remember who we are." As the ship prepared to unleash its first strike, the galaxy itself seemed to go silent. And in that silence, a legend was reborn. Humanity, the lost race, had returned to the stars, not with mercy, but with vengeance. The battle begins, the void trembled as the Nemesis moved forward, its engines glowing like dying suns across the battlefield. The alien fleets rearranged their formation, ready to crush the lone human ship once and for all. The Coalition's communication channels buzzed with laughter, arrogance, and disbelief. One commander sneered, "A single human ship dares face the fleets of 10 worlds. This will be over in seconds," but in the darkness, the Nemesis remained calm, its lights pulsing slowly, like a predator breathing before the kill. Captain Mira Daxon stood tall on the bridge, her reflection shining on the cold glass of the viewport. Her crew watched her closely, feeling both fear and faith. Jonas Reed said quietly, "Captain, every weapon on their side is charged. They're locking on us from all angles." Mira nodded, her voice a whisper. "Then they're ready for what's coming." She placed her hand on the central control sphere, a living crystal that hummed under her touch. "Begin the sequence, arm the heart," she said. Deep within the ship's core, the massive weapon began to awaken fully. The lights dimmed, and the sound of energy flowing through ancient circuits filled the air. Aija spoke softly. "Heart sequence initiated. Quantum lock disengaged. Energy buildup increasing," Jonas frowned. "Captain, the heart wasn't designed to be fired at full power. We don't even know what it will do." Mira's eyes stayed fixed on the growing swarm of alien ships. "Neither do they," she answered coldly. Outside, the alien fleets opened fire. Thousands of plasma cannons released a storm of light, covering the Nemesis in a wall of explosions from the outside. It looked like the human ship had been swallowed whole. Admiral Zortal leaned forward and laughed. "It's finished." Another ghost of humanity gone. But before the laughter could fade, the light of the explosions began to twist. Every beam of plasma froze in mid-space, frozen in place like shattered glass suspended in time. A pulse of energy spread outward from the Nemesis, blue and white, silent yet unstoppable. The alien fleet stopped firing, their sensors screamed in alarm. Showing impossible readings, ships began to malfunction, their shields collapsing one by one. Then the Nemesis moved faster than any known vessel, leaving a trail of burning light behind it. Its cannons came alive, glowing with the energy of the heart, and with one shot the battlefield changed forever. The beam wasn't light, it wasn't plasma. It was something older, something human. It sliced through space like a blade through silk. Every ship it touched turned to dust, erased in silence, not destroyed, simply gone. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds, leaving nothing but darkness behind. Admiral Zortal screamed into the comms, "All ships retreat, retreat now!" But it was too late. The shockwave that followed shattered his fleet, his flagship spinning out of control, its metal skin melting into vapor. Inside the Nemesis, the crew stared at the screen in disbelief. Jonas whispered, "We wiped out half the fleet with one shot." Aegis replied calmly, "Correction. 72% of enemy vessels neutralized. Remaining forces retreating." Silence filled the bridge. Mira closed her eyes and took a slow breath. "So this is the power of the heart," she said softly. "No wonder they feared us, but the victory was not without cost." Warning lights flashed across the panels, and the hum of the ship became uneven, Aegis reported. "Core stability at 70%, heat levels rising beyond safety parameters." Mira opened her eyes, her face calm. "We knew the price." She turned to Jonas. "Status of the remaining enemies." "Scattered," he said. "They're running. They don't even know what hit them." Mira looked out at the empty battlefield. She could still see faint trails of light where the alien ships had been, fading like dying stars. For a moment she thought of Earth again, of the silence after its destruction, of the promise she made when she was a child hiding underground, to make them remember humanity, she whispered. Barely audible, Jonas heard her and said, "They'll never forget this, Captain. Not after today, but Mira didn't smile. She looked at the readings on her console. The heart was still glowing, still active, and she knew this was only the beginning. In the distance, the remnants of the alien fleet tried to regroup. Their transmissions filled the air with panic. Unknown weapon detected, unidentified energy signature. Do not engage. The story of the Nemesis spread like wildfire across every channel. To some, it was a weapon of vengeance. To others, it was the return of a legend. But to Mira and her crew, it was survival. A message to the universe that humanity was not done yet. As the Nemesis drifted through the wreckage of 1,000 ships, its engines roared once more. Aegis spoke softly. "Captain, what are your next orders?" Mira looked toward the star map where the Coalition's central command glowed in red. Her voice was steady, cold, and sure. "We're going to the heart of their empire," she said. "They started this war, we'll finish it." The crew exchanged glances. Knowing what that meant, there would be no turning back. Jonas tightened his grip on the control stick and said, "Then let's give them something to remember." The Nemesis accelerated, vanishing into the darkness of space behind it. The battlefield burned with the light of a dying empire. And across the galaxy, every species whispered the same word with fear and awe. Humans. The fear spreads across the galaxy. Silence became the loudest sound after the battle. Thousands of systems reported seeing the same thing. A single human warship surrounded by a graveyard of alien fleets. The name Nemesis echoed through every communication channel. Spreading faster than light, some called it a myth reborn, others called it the end of the age of arrogance. For centuries, the universe had mocked the humans, called them extinct, weak, primitive, but now, fear became their new language. In the capital world of the Coalition, the Alien Council gathered in panic. Towering leaders of 10 species filled the great chamber, their voices overlapping in confusion. Admiral Zortal's hologram flickered in the center, his armor scorched, his expression filled with disbelief. He shouted, "You don't understand, it wasn't a ship, and it was a storm. A living storm." The council leader, an elder being with golden scales, slammed his claw against the table. "Calm yourself, Admiral, humanity is gone. This must be a rogue AI weapon." But Zortal's voice broke. "I saw them, real humans, breathing, speaking, fighting. And that weapon they used, it defies every law we know." The council fell silent. For the first time in centuries, their arrogance cracked. Reports poured in from every outpost. Ships vanishing, systems losing contact. Every destroyed fleet carried the same transmission before dying out. A single voice, human and calm, saying, "Remember Earth." That phrase became a ghost across the stars, haunting every broadcast on board the Nemesis. The atmosphere was heavy. The crew sat quietly, surrounded by flickering panels and dim lights. Jonas Reed checked the damage report and sighed. Core output still unstable, several systems burned out, shields running at half strength. Aegis spoke softly. "Repairs possible, but time required. Enemy reinforcements may arrive soon." Mira stood near the viewport. Watching the wreckage drift by, pieces of alien ships floated like dead moons. "Their remains glowing faintly," she whispered. "So much destruction from one shot." Jonas looked at her. "You did what you had to do, Captain. They destroyed Earth. This is justice." But Mira didn't answer, her eyes distant, filled with something deeper than anger, sorrow. She turned to Aegis. "How many survivors detected?" Aegis responded. "Minimal, approximately 2,000 life signs across the debris field." Jonas frowned. "Hostiles?" "Most are unconscious, damaged escape pods," the AI said. Mira hesitated. "Send rescue drones, bring in whoever we can." Jonas looked shocked. "Captain, they're the enemy," she replied. Her voice soft but firm. "We're not like them. We don't kill the helpless." Her words filled the bridge with a strange silence, a reminder that despite everything, they were still human. Meanwhile, in the outer colonies of the Coalition, fear began turning into rebellion. Smaller races who had lived under the Coalition's cruelty for generations now whispered, "If humans could fight back, maybe we can too." The legend of the Nemesis became a symbol, a spark in the darkness. Rebel broadcasts showed holograms of a lone Terran flag waving in the starlight. They called it the Dawn Signal, a message of resistance. And for the first time, the mighty Coalition began to crack from within. Back on the Nemesis, Mira entered the command archive. It was a silent chamber filled with memories of Earth, old recordings, fragments of human history preserved by the AI. She watched a hologram of blue oceans and green forests, voices of children laughing, cities glowing under the night sky. She touched the image and whispered, "We will bring you back." One day, Aegis appeared beside her as a soft light. "Captain, your emotion levels are irregular. Recommend rest." Mira smiled faintly. "Emotions are what make us human, Aegis. Don't ever forget that." The AI paused for a second, as if thinking, then replied, "Acknowledged." Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. Jonas shouted, "Incoming transmission. Encrypted signal from Coalition Command." Mira hurried back to her seat. "Open it." A hologram of Admiral Zortal appeared, his expression full of exhaustion and fear. "Human ship? This is Admiral Zortal of the Coalition. We request negotiation." Mira stared at the image. Silent, Jonas whispered, "He's bluffing." But Mira could see it in his eyes. He was terrified, desperate. She replied slowly, "Negotiation? After centuries of extermination?" Zortal lowered his head. "We were wrong, Captain. We thought you were gone. We thought humanity was finished. We didn't know you still lived." Mira's voice was cold. "And now that we live, you fear us." For a moment, there was silence between them. Then Zortal said softly, "If you continue using that weapon, you'll destroy everything, even yourselves. The galaxy cannot survive another blast like that." Mira looked down at her console, her hand trembling slightly. He was right. Even one more shot from the heart could rip apart the fabric of space itself. But how could she trust the same empire that once burned her world? She said quietly, "If the galaxy feared us once, maybe fear is the only language it understands." The signal cut out. Leaving the crew in uneasy silence, Jonas looked at her and said, "Captain, he's right. If we keep using the heart, it could destroy more than just them." Mira turned to face him, her eyes sharp. "And if we stop, they'll come again. They always come again." The bridge grew silent except for the low hum of the engines. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. The universe was listening, waiting to see what humanity would do next. Far away, in the hidden corners of space, small human colonies that had gone dark centuries ago received the first transmission from the Nemesis. It carried only 4 words: "We are still here." And with that message, the sleeping children of Earth began to awaken. The age of humanity had returned, and the galaxy trembled at the sound of their heartbeat. The price of power. The Nemesis drifted through the ruins of the battlefield, its once bright lights now dim and flickering. Inside the ship, silence reigned, broken only by the hum of damaged engines. The victory over the Coalition fleet had come at a terrible cost. Half of the ship's systems were failing. The core of the heart was unstable and the crew was exhausted. But what haunted them most was not the damage. It was the quiet that followed destruction. Captain Mira Daxon stood alone on the bridge, her reflection faint in the cracked viewport outside. The wreckage of thousands of ships floated like frozen corpses in the dark. Jonas Reed entered quietly, holding a datapad filled with red warnings. "Core radiation levels increasing, Captain, if we keep the heart active. We'll tear ourselves apart." Mira didn't turn, her voice calm but heavy. "I know." She closed her eyes, feeling the weight of every lost life, human and alien alike. Behind them, the AI Aegis spoke softly, its tone more human than machine. "Captain, I detect subspace instability near the heart. Its energy signature is mutating." Jonas frowned. "Mutating? You mean it's alive?" Aegis paused before answering. "It is responding like it senses emotion. Anger, perhaps." Mira looked at the core's faint glow on her console. "The heart was built from living energy. It responds to will," Jonas whispered. "Then what is it responding to now?" She replied quietly, "To my hate." A shockwave rippled through the ship, throwing everyone off balance. Panels sparked, alarms screamed, and the lights flickered violently. Aegis warned, "Core containment breach at 7%. Jonas rushed to the console, his voice urgent. "We can't hold it. We have to shut it down." Mira's hand tightened on the rail. "No, if we shut it down, the Coalition will regroup and strike again," Jonas shouted. "Then we'll die first, Captain. This weapon isn't saving us. It's killing us." Her voice rose, sharp and trembling. "They killed Earth, Jonas. They killed everything, and this is all we have left." He looked at her with sorrow. "At what cost, Mira? If we become monsters to destroy monsters, what's the difference? The bridge fell silent again. Only the hum of the dying engines remained. For a long moment, Mira said nothing, her gaze lost in the stars. Then a small alarm blinked. An incoming signal, weak but clear, Aegis announced. Transmission detected, source unknown, patching through. A young alien voice echoed through the speakers, trembling. Human ship, please, don't fire again. There are children here, refugees, we're not soldiers. Mira froze, her breath caught. The voice continued. We lost everything too. The Coalition took our worlds, we're hiding, please. Don't kill us, Jonas whispered. They're innocent, Aegis confirmed. Life signs match non-combatants, Captain. Mostly younglings. Mira's hands shook as she stared at the console. She could destroy them with a thought, one more shot, one more pulse of light. But the image of her mother flashed in her memory, a voice from long ago saying, Mira, never let hatred guide you, remember who we are. Her chest tightened. Her eyes burned. Jonas stepped closer, speaking softly. You don't have to do this, Captain. Mercy doesn't make us weak. Then the ship shook again. A powerful blast struck their hull. Aegis reported instantly. Coalition reinforcement detected. One dreadnought approaching. Weapons hot, Jonas shouted. They're firing again. Captain. Mira's sorrow turned to fury, her heart pounding. She looked at the glowing heart in the core chamber. Pulsing like a heartbeat of fire, Aegis said carefully, one more shot will destroy the enemy. And us, Mira whispered. For Earth, for the lost. For every scream they silenced. The crew watched in horror as she placed her hand on the control sphere. The bridge flooded with light, systems overloaded. Metal groaned as the ship prepared to fire. Jonas yelled, Mira, stop! You'll kill us all. But she didn't answer. Her voice calm, distant. We already died long ago, the Nemesis charged. Its hull cracking under the pressure, a shockwave began forming at its core. A storm of white light tearing through space. The alien dreadnought opened fire, beams cutting through the void. But none could pierce the human ship. Inside the blinding glow, Aegis whispered its final words. Goodbye, Captain. Mira smiled faintly. Goodbye, old friend. Then in a blinding flash, the Nemesis unleashed its last strike. The light consumed everything. The dreadnought, the debris, even the darkness between stars. And when it ended, there was nothing left but silence. No sound, no movement, only a faint ripple of energy spreading across the galaxy. It was as if space itself had wept hours later. Distant sensors across star systems picked up a strange signal. Not a weapon, not an explosion, but a whisper, 4 words, carried across time and space. Remember what we were, and those who heard it. Human, alien, rebel, or ruler, felt something stir inside them. It was not fear this time, but sorrow. The galaxy realized that the humans had not vanished. They had sacrificed themselves, not for revenge, but to remind the universe of the cost of hatred. The one shot that changed everything. When the light faded, the galaxy was never the same again. The blast from the Nemesis swept across thousands of star systems, bending space, tearing through fleets and silencing weapons that had burned for centuries. But it was not pure destruction, it was something else, a rewriting. A resetting of balance. Every weapon that ran on rage, every machine powered by conquest simply went dead. It was as if the universe itself had chosen peace. In the ruins of the Coalition's capital, survivors crawled from broken towers, their skies filled with shimmering dust. For the first time in history, there was no sound of war. No signal of command, no order to fight, only silence, deep and heavy. The Alien Council's chamber lay in ruins. The leaders gone, their empires shattered. All that remained were fragments of a world built on pride. And floating above that silent world, glowing like a fading star, was the shadow of the Nemesis. No one could explain it. Every scanner said the ship was gone. Destroyed, erased, yet across the night sky, people swore they saw its outline. Vast, dark, and watching. Some said it appeared whenever peace was broken. Others said it was just a ghost, but all agreed on one thing. The humans had done what no empire ever could. They ended the war, centuries passed, and the story became legend. Children across alien worlds grew up hearing the tale of the single human war cruiser that ended an age of violence with one shot. They learned the names, Captain Mira Daxon, the last commander of Earth, Jonas Reed, the loyal officer who believed in mercy, and Aegis, the AI that spoke like a soul. But no one truly knew what became of them. Some said they were lost in the blast, their atoms scattered among the stars. Others believed the heart had preserved them, turning them into light, guardians of a new era, deep in an uncharted region, far beyond the maps of any living race. A faint signal pulsed every 1,000 years. It was weak, soft, but unmistakably human. Protocol Guardian active, it whispered. Peace preserved. And whenever the universe slipped into chaos, that signal grew stronger. Ships on the edge of known space reported seeing a figure in the dark. A colossal vessel drifting silently, its hull still carrying the insignia of old Earth. Those who saw it claimed to feel something in their hearts, not fear but warmth. The same feeling ancient humans once called hope. One day, a young alien explorer named Kale stumbled upon the ruins of an old Terran archive, hidden inside a dead moon. He brushed away the dust, activating the last recording stored within. A flickering hologram appeared, showing Mira Daxon, standing proud on the bridge of the Nemesis, her eyes calm, her voice soft yet powerful. If you are hearing this, she said, then you live in the peace we dreamed of. Remember us not as monsters, not as destroyers, but as those who paid the price so others could stop fighting. Kale watched in awe, tears in his eyes though he did not understand why. He whispered, "We remember, Captain." After that discovery, the message spread again across thousands of worlds. People repeated her words, and for the first time, war felt small, shameful, meaningless. Armies disbanded. Fleets turned to exploration. The memory of the Nemesis became a sacred story, a warning and a promise. No one dared to build another heart. No one dared to challenge the silence it left behind. Yet among the stars, the myth continued. Travelers told of hearing a hum in deep space, a sound like a heartbeat echoing across the void. They said if you listened long enough, you could hear a woman's voice, soft as wind, whispering, "Remember Earth." And whenever someone lost hope, they would look up at the night sky and imagine a single ship still sailing there, watching, waiting, protecting. And so, the name humanity became more than history. It became a legend. A story that said even when everything burns, one spark of courage can still light the stars again. For in the end, it wasn't a weapon that changed the universe. It was the human heart that refused to die.